Hello, Pisces, and welcome to The Story of I Am, your 2020 mid-year reading from Planet Waves. My name is Eric Francis Coppolino, your astrologer for the next 40 minutes or 40 years or the past 25 years, or maybe we just met a week ago. I am going for it with the fourth reading of the day. I don't think I've ever done four of these in one day, but I'm determined to wrap this up and to do my very best doing so. So, the framing of this reading is the time duration between now and the northern hemisphere winter solstice of 12/21/20. There is something of a kind of a final transition here into a new age of astrology. We are exiting the astrology that has dominated 2020, and in a way the year ends with the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. Hey, is that okay if you don't make a lot of noise down there? Got a couple of dogs doing things in the corner. Okay, so the floor is very tempting after you've had dinner. So, if you're a dog, there is something here about letting go of one era of reality and embarking on another era of reality. For most practical purposes, the era of reality that we're talking about ending is the one that began in late 2017 with the ingress of Saturn into Capricorn. That's the simplest way to frame the time pattern. And this has been a very distinctive time in your life, given how prominent Saturn has been for you and how it has manifested so boldly and out in the open in a place called your 11th house. What you may notice is that in this 3-year span from late 17 to late 20, your entire social reality rearranged itself. Everything that you would consider your relationship to the public rearranged itself. And that you have accomplished something that can be quite challenging, but when aided by the right planetary transit, can be more easily accomplished, which is carving out a niche for yourself in the world where it will be, which facilitates you being able to conduct business and social life for the foreseeable future, I mean, for quite a while. And this has happened during this time of what on one level would seem like complete planetary madness, a pandemic, a response to a pandemic, a lot of problems with the whole pandemic narrative. If you've been reading my writing, I assume you think that I'm a sincere person, not a paranoid guy. Just telling it like I see it. There's problems with this whole narrative, and the dimension that has changed the most for the world is the 11th house, because these restrictions imposed are all restrictions on the 11th house, quote unquote social distancing, and the attempt to structure civil society by, my personal favorite example is one-way aisles in the supermarket for our safety. To prevent the spread of germs, you must walk that way in the spaghetti sauce aisle and then that way in the canned fruit aisle. But here's where it fits your chart, and it is kind of humorous. Is my chart here? Yes, Pisces. Welcome to the Pisces solar chart. Picture of it should be on your reading. The 11th house is the house of society. it is not in the big sense of society. The 11th house is you go to a party and everyone you know some of the people at the party, and then you meet their friends. The 11th house is I used to hang out at a minor league baseball stadium, and you go 5 or 6 times and you start to meet people. You know the kid making the French fries, and you know the manager, and you know the food service staff, and you develop a system of acquaintances. That's the 11th house. The 12th is a very wide public, and it is true that certain aspects of what we've been through this year impact are kind of a creature of the 12th, because there's something much, 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 much larger going on. But the way we've experienced it has been alteration to the 11th, meaning that you can't really get together with your friends like you thought you could, and restricting, making laws about 5 people getting together, and England making laws about who can sleep over at your house and who can't sleep over at your house that seem to be coming and going, no pun intended. And this has all happened while you have been, first of all, you already have a somewhat structured concept of the 11th house, because you've got Capricorn there. But the structured concept of the 11th house has come under sort of some heavy demolition from Pluto going through it for the past 12 years. So you've noticed there's been a lot of changes to civil social society. I certainly have noticed many changes to civil social society, and I don't like most of them. Because it's been less civic and less social, and a lot of our reality has been what was previously in person has been vacuumed onto the internet, and then continuing to be more so vacuumed onto the internet by this insanity. But the good news for you is that while this has all been going on, you have had Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto and a Centaur and another planet holding space in the territory, and like making sure that there's room for you in this new reality. So Saturn makes room for things. Pluto definitely makes room for things. Jupiter expands things and stretches reality and makes room for things in its own way, because Jupiter wants elbow room. And Pholus is saying that there's not going to be any stopping you. You have Pholus in your 11th now. And this is very propitious for you to have this, and particularly Saturn in the 11th is the experience of making the niche, and Capricorn is government, it's corporate, it's family, it's all of the dependable structures of civil society, and it is very important to have room for yourself in civil society. Most people don't really have a concept of that. They do when they start to have to promote themselves in some way, and they realize how hard it is to, particularly now, to get any attention. Being on the internet 22 years ago was easy because it was nothing going on there. It was like going to Burning Man 1993. You could pitch your tent anywhere you wanted. But now the nodes are jammed. And so to have this power, this like power tool of Saturn, very helpful. And the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in January, the kind of made a crack in society through which you can proceed. And that really made space. So I want to kind of get you going on this idea that there's room for you, that there's space for you, that you're not crowded out, you're not to be sort of sidelined, and it is in the spirit of Pisces to be willing to come last. And I would propose to you today that that the time for last has arrived, that it's your turn in line, having waited a long time, and that we are certainly heading into a kind of a brave new world. But I would suggest you take none of it passively, that you remain involved, injected, inserted, projected, expected, and detected into society, and that you keep making room, you keep clearing space, you keep opening up territory, you keep experimenting with ideas as a maintenance practice, and that you be genuinely as experimental as you have ever been, and that you not ever knuckle under those who would say, "Nah, we're going to restrict everything. We're the boss, and you're not." And no, that's not the time that it is for Pisces. We will see if it's the time that it is for the world. Maybe the world thinks that that's what it is, but I don't think so. And I think that part of your role in this is to set the example of how to remain whole, how to remain with your in the world with your humanity fully intact. The last stage of this Capricorn astrology is happening now, and it's happening. It's kind of really cool. I didn't get how cool it was until I made 12 of these videos. Now I'm making the 13th, and I'm finally saying, like, this is a really great. This is a really great thing, because the point of embarkment, the direction this is all flowing is Saturn and Jupiter forming a conjunction in Aquarius. Pluto will remain in Capricorn for about 3 additional years and start to transition into Aquarius also. So Jupiter is the traditional ruling planet of your sign. When Jupiter's making good aspects, you're usually doing well. Saturn is not so much affiliated with Pisces, but it is very much affiliated with the sign that it's about to enter, which is Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius is one of the best things in all of astrology. I have the privilege of having phone calls with Rob Hand. I don't know what exactly it is, but we have some good karma from a million lifetimes ago, and we were talking about this, and I just ran past him the idea of Saturn as the ruler of Capricorn, which it is, and Saturn as the ruler of Aquarius, which it is. And it's technically the night ruler of Capricorn, a nocturnal association, and the day ruler, a diurnal association with Aquarius. And I said, which is better? And he said, there's no question that Saturn in Aquarius is the strongest position for Saturn. And I think that what's good for Saturn is good for everyone, and what's good for Saturn is certainly good for you. And Saturn is entering your 12th house, and in a system called the joys of the houses, Saturn is said to rejoice in the 12th house. So this is it's going to be an exciting transition, and part of what's going to be so exciting about it is it's just not going to. You're entering a less controversial time in your life. It is possible that this Saturn in Capricorn time in your life had certain trials and tribulations of a social and potentially public nature. But as it turned out, when you have the power of Saturn available and you use it, if you've taken a disciplined approach and you have taken a loving approach, you've probably done quite well through this. And I would encourage you to remain brave and to not hesitate to call upon your courage. Okay, we've got that somewhat covered. I want to skip to the first house for a moment. Then we'll go to the second, and then we'll go to the third. And I think we've got our reading. So we're going to cover houses 1, 2, and actually in order 12, 1, 2, and 3. That's kind of a cool way to do it. So here's Pisces right now. And this is your first house. If you're Pisces rising, just count all of Pisces as the first house for the sake of discussion. And also consider your chart, consider whatever you have in Pisces in your chart as potentially being your first house. Use your ascendant, imagine the planets above the horizon or 12th house, but also, run the script with all of Pisces as the first, because whole sign houses are wise. There's something wise about this system. As long as you don't turn it into a, mandatory religion, and you will unsubscribe anyone who ever doesn't use whole sign houses. There are places like that in the world. You have 3 main influences in your sign right now. The big daddy is Neptune, considered the modern ruler of Pisces, discovered in 1846. Kind of ushers in the age of telegraph, and a kind of a new mysticism took hold with the discovery of Neptune, and it was quickly and I think logically assigned to Pisces, but there really aren't. The rulership system is a classical system, and so you don't want to really revise that too much. And if you do, you want to work with both. In any event, you have Neptune in your first. And what Neptune in the first can do is it can be lonely. It can be confusing. It can lead you to a state of questioning what's real and questioning who you are. It can come with a number of problems of the deranged denial, delusion, deception, drink, drugs, and all that stuff. I will leave it to you to monitor that. But there are other influences that are keeping you practical. So at least know what denial is. And, it's just such a paradox to talk about denial, because usually when people are in denial, they don't admit it, and the minute they would admit it, they would be out of denial. So denial is one of those things that kind of keeps you trapped in there. But one of the ways to tell you're in denial is how defensive you get when someone presents you with an idea that you don't like. So use that as your metric of whether you're in denial. But what Neptune also does is it creates an opening, which can potentially be a vulnerability. And finally, it presents a shape-shifting option. There's a lot of Pisces when Neptune is in Pisces. That's the one thing you can say for sure about Neptune in Pisces, is it's kind of like pouring an ocean into the ocean, which happens every now and then. And so you can use this ability to shapeshift, this ability to transform yourself, this ability to present yourself as you need to be, as appropriate for any specific circumstance. And so the way to use this resource is to ask yourself what is appropriate for any particular circumstance, and if it's appealing, to do that thing, or if in some way it's going to serve you or serve the circumstance, do that thing. 2 other important points going on in Pisces right now. One is a centaur, the third centaur, called Nessus. Nessus is all about taking bottom line responsibility for yourself and for your feelings. It is about being aware of drama triangles. Nessus is about, related to drama triangles, being very cautious and conscious and, what's the word? Like discriminating about the concept of victim. Because like one of the Nessus traps is getting caught in the notion that you're a victim. And of course it's easier said than done. And, just an extra 30 years of spiritual training might be helpful, but you can go a long way by being consciously mindful of, like, if you hear yourself say something or hear yourself describe someone as a victim, a little light should go on every time that you use or reference the concept victim, particularly about yourself. The third point is Borsici. There is a let's write this down. We're going to have a juicy list of resources with each sign. I've written something here on the Aquarius chart that I'm supposed to put up, but I don't remember what it was. So if you're seeing the Aquarius reading and I promise to put something on the list that's not on the list, please write to us and tell us that. Borsici is a very interestingly Pisces planet because it works the border between belief and deception. The planet Borsici comes out of a book called Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut, which is a book about the nuclear predicament. And one of the themes of the book is harmless lies versus dangerous truths. Is it better to tell a harmless lie than a dangerous truth? By extension, is something a lie? Can you make a lie become the truth by saying it over and over again, and then is it really the truth? It sounds like a fucked up approach to philosophy, but you see this operating now, and in a number of different important realms in our world, particularly science. This is not a new problem. I mean, this was not born on January 12, 2020, but there is a way that science promulgates lies that are then accepted as the unquestionable gospel truth by 99% of society, and most people, not one day in their lives, will ever recognize the problem. And if you told them, they wouldn't believe you. And you could tell them what book to read, and they probably won't read the book because it's going to challenge their view. Be mindful of this. Be mindful of your ability to synthesize the truth, synthesize deceptions, but also a skill at seeing, observing synthesized truths and synthesized deceptions. And use this tool of Borsici as a kind of a resource that you have special access to because you're a Pisces, and this whole theme is so inherent in the cosmology of the sign Pisces, but also because Borsici is in Pisces. And you have the ability to see problems before they get too big. You may not be able to stop the problems in society from getting too big, but you certainly have the ability to stop problems in your life from getting too big, and to a slightly lesser degree, but still real degree, problems in your locale and in your community where you are. We'll get to this one house from now. Blessed with the ability to be something of agent provocateur, a rebel and a rabble rouser, but one with a clue. Okay, I'm doing these readings in two just for safety because of the Debacle with the Cancer reading, which I had to do 3 times because the program ate it twice. Can you imagine? I had to do the whole reading. I don't use any script. This is like the closest thing I have to notes, and I had to do it 3 times. So, okay, before we get to the Aries part, I want to just make one reference additional to house number 11. House number 11 is a financial house. It's the house of the financial rewards of one's profession. Here's why that is. In astrology, the second house is the house of one's money. And so the second to anything is the house of the money from that thing. So for example, if the 7th house is marriage, the 8th house is the house of money from the marriage. In the case of the 10th house, the profession, the second of the 10th is Capricorn. The second of the 10th is the 11th, which is the house of the money of one's profession. And in your case, that's Capricorn. And there are a number of implications here. One of which is that you will benefit from making your money in a structured way. You need structure, especially as a Pisces. You need a lot of structure in your life and in your work, and you can find that in the 11th if it's covered by Capricorn, and the fact that the combination of Pluto, Pallas Athene, Jupiter, and Saturn have been working this house on and off in various combinations for years indicates that there's been movement in here and development. So hold that thought, and remember that everything I said, when you play this again, everything I said about the 11th also has a financial permutation, a financial angle to it. Okay. Now let's go to the primary financial house, which is Aries, which is the house of initiative, and where Aries, well, it's a sign of initiative in the house of finances. Among the many things I've never read, well, with one possible exception, and I don't know where it was, that there are more Pisces millionaires back in the day of millionaire being something than any other sign, but I have no evidence of that being true, but at least someone noticed it, and most people would think, oh, that's because Pisces are so creative and adaptable and flexible. Really, what it is about is, assuming it's true, is that on the second house you have the sign of the highest initiative, and also the sign where you find yourself and where you can very comfortably find yourself is in a financial reality. Now, it doesn't seem to fit the picture of Pisces because, Pisces is so spiritual and all this stuff, but spiritual does not mean being a nun. Spiritual means being in accord with your inner nature and true to your true to your being and a faithful participant in the universe. And so, given that, it is eminently spiritual to be involved in financial enterprises, assuming that you're in integrity doing so, assuming that you're being true to yourself and true to your values. So now, a couple of things have happened here. One of which is that Chiron has entered second house. Chiron, for the past 2 years, Chiron's been in the process of entering and then working its way across Pisces, Aries. And this has called attention to the financial question for you. It has raised the priority. Wherever Chiron goes, raises the priority of that house and sign. So Chiron is kind of, it carries with it a kind of a focalizing power and the ability to string together many dimensions of reality, and this is taking place in a house associated with your financial dealings and in a sign associated with your process of self-actualization. And I would propose here that whatever you may have done in the past, that to self-actualize for you and to fully integrate yourself into social reality has a lot to do with being good at money, good with the stuff, and clever and strategic, and recognizing its value and its importance. And this is especially highlighted with 6 months of Mars in Aries, basically from early July to early January is the time that Mars is going to be in Aries, and then Mars in Aries is making all these aspects and exciting angles and activating all of these planets in Capricorn, another financial house where you've been doing all this niche work, where you've been carving out a niche for yourself, carving out a reality for yourself. And these two things are working together in such a way that it will be very beneficial for you to really emphasize the financial aspects of your life, and to get it together. Get the instruction, the training, the help, the refurbishing of your structure that you need to be financially organized and as financially self-sufficient as you can be. There's a number of ways to do this. I could do an excellent talk on financial astrology, but this includes knowing the different kinds of bank accounts and investment accounts, and the different types of business structures, whether it's a DBA, LLC, S corp, C corp, nonprofit corp. There's a lot of different possibilities, and to work with someone experienced in business, someone not just a financial planner or an expert, though it might help to have their input and their opinion, but rather someone who's just been through the paces in business, and figure out for yourself what the best form of a business structure would be for you, and to work that structure, and to make sure that you're saving money, and to make sure that you are planning for the future. And more than anything, to make sure that you are financing your priorities, that your money is going to what you need your money to be going to. And there may be no stretch at all here. There may be a very big stretch, but the truth is that this is something you've got to do, and I think that you've got to do it. And the presence of Chiron in the long term is saying that this is a major point of healing for you. And the retrograde of Mars in the second house, in my theory of how all this is working, is a initiatory, preparatory phase of becoming fully ready to work the energy and the qualities of Chiron in the second house, and Chiron in Aries. And way underneath any discussion of anything financial is always going to be a question of self-respect and of self-value. And really, when we're talking Chiron, we're talking about things being true on a kind of an existential level, on the most spiritually relevant level, which is the level the most relevant to your your experience of life, and your direct journey here on this planet. And these are just friendly words of encouragement that this is not an unspiritual thing to do. It does not defy your nature. It very much is in line with your nature. Let's cover one more house, and we'll be done with the story of I Am. Third house. Maybe a bonus house coming up, but we're going to do the third house. Third house is two main concepts. First one is everything and everyone local to you. The second concept is communication devices and communication itself. Email and the thing that makes email, But generally speaking, the communication two is local communication, as opposed to the ninth house, which is much wider than local communication. And there's very exciting things happening in the ninth house. The exciting thing happening in the third house is that Uranus has arrived here, and that is pushing limits and upsetting the status quo of your local community, and suggesting that you can work with the churned up, excited state of the status quo. The ninth, which I hadn't planned on mentioning though, is also wildly expanding, because you've got Apollon here, which is a trans-Neptunian point, planet without a body, similar to Jupiter, but much, much, much slower, and Volcanus, a lot of energy. So the two of them combined are creating kind of enough energy to make a kind of an international sensation out of something, though it's going to be in the realm of the spiritual, in the style of Scorpio, whatever that means to you. That, you know, that can be pretty saucy, but ultimately, the grounding of this process is in the engagement of Uranus in the third house, and so that means thinking globally and acting locally, to put it in the simplest possible terms. And so, when you work the third, you work the ninth, but you want to like start in miniature and get the local buzz going and get the activity going on the local level. And then kind of in the second phase of that breath, expand your possibilities to a wider field. And what may well happen is that if you are interesting enough and innovative enough and rebellious enough to qualify for Uranus and Taurus in the third house, that the larger thing will pick up. The larger energy, the larger quality, the expanded sense of being will just pick up from that. And this is a natural process, and it's happened in lots of times, in lots of ways, to lots of people, and it certainly can happen to you. One more reminder, and I've mentioned this in a couple of annual editions here and there. In your seventh house, in your relationship house, Virgo, first is self, seventh is other, is this slow-moving point. Another point without a body takes 75 years to go through a sign, so most of us have it in Leo in our natal charts, and then about 5 years ago it entered Virgo, and that's your relationship house. And there is a message here about making sure that you're having the right relationship with the right person. There's a dual quality of this point called trans-Pluto, one of which is about specialization of purpose. The other point of trans-Pluto is about the integration of purpose. And so this, too, is a polarity that you want to work with, the specialization of purpose of people and the integration of purpose with people. And I'm not quite getting the words to describe how this might work, but when someone's in your life, be mindful of why they're there, and what you need to do to feed that, what you need to do to facilitate that and work with that, and make sure that people are serving their purpose, that they are fulfilling the role that they have given themselves and that you have given them, and that there's not some disparity, and that needs are not left unfulfilled, and that people are not present in a way that is distracting to you, because you need your energy, and one of the things you want to do is make sure that the people in your life actually belong there. I mean, and it's easy for a Pisces to be very empathetic and not to want to, push people too hard or challenge them to be too different and all that stuff. But you need to make sure the people who are in your world and getting your attention and taking up bandwidth are actually belong where they are. But they belong in the role that they're in, and that they want to be there. That they're genuinely willing to be there and to be present for you. Okay, so that that kind of covers it. It has been quite a journey. I think I began these readings on Monday and went through 13 of these videos in 7 days. I would encourage you, if you have access, to poke around and check out the other videos. Check out your opposite sign for relationships. Check out Sagittarius, your 10th house, for professional related matters. You're welcome to share these readings with anyone that you think might benefit from them. You know, if you share them and they like them, please send them my way. But I want to make sure that these readings get into the hands where they belong, and that if you have some purpose that will be served by having someone know something, or you think someone else might have a purpose served by being the recipient of some message that I've delivered, you know, I'm doing this work to have it be available to the world. So thank you for participating. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your business. And it's good to be with you. Bye for now.